Amazing. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Speakeasy JS. This week we have an amazing thing happening, which is that we have Matt McKegg here, who's going to be doing a talk and a musical performance live for us right now. So how cool is that? I'm super excited for this. We also have here with us Rod, who gave a talk last week. Say hello, Rod.
Hello.
Cool. Yeah. So we have, as you can see there in the bottom corner, we can see Matt's setup, which is just looks super legit. I wish I had such a setup in my office. But yeah. So I guess I'll just say a little bit how I met you. I met you originally. I don't remember why. I think I was in New Zealand for one of those conferences. I think it was like Node.js, NodeConf Christchurch one shot, or one of those ones, and I remember hearing about you, or seeing you originally just like performing with one of those launch pads using some really cool looking software, which I later found out was your own software for doing live musical performances that you wrote in JavaScript, and it was called Loop Drop, and you wrote it in Electron, and it could, it worked amazingly well. I think at the time people didn't think JavaScript could be used in such a way. So I remember it was just like really mad science and super cool. There were occasional like stutters, I think, if I remember correctly, but you were like working on that, and it was super impressive. So anyway, that's like the original way that I met you. But from what I hear, you're now writing it in Rust. So I'm really excited, interested to hear about that story. So I guess with that introduction, I'll let you take it away. So the stage is yours.
All right. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I had a bit of a journey. So this all started because I wanted to be able to perform electronic music in a certain way, and I couldn't find any tools that actually let me do that. So my early obsession was with this idea of actually playing everything live. And the problem with electronic music is because it's so digital and so controlled, the temptation is always that you have a lot of stuff pre-planned and pre-sequenced. You can have it all, basically the whole thing all mapped out on a timeline, and then all you have to do is hit play when you start your performance. And I, for some reason, had this obsession with, like, I wanted to actually be playing the music live, like as if a guitarist got on stage and could like jam out or whatever. So I kind of had a series of experiments where I was building up more and more layers on this idea. So I was a JavaScript developer. It was back in 2011 or 12, something around there. And I just started experimenting with some little scripts that I was running in Node.js that would take data from from this controller here, except the old version from 2011 instead of the one from 2020. It didn't have colors back in those days. And taking that data and then processing it in interesting ways to allow me to have this full control over a lot of different instruments all at once. And those days I was sending the messages off to software that I didn't write myself, like Ableton Live, and then I could make it sound really good and everything, but I was in control of all the buttons. But as you do when you're 22 or whatever I was, I got quite deep into the ideas of what I could actually do with my own audio software, and got really deep into web audio and experimenting with that. So what this is letting me do is I'm not stuck in what you can create with Ableton. I can do my own audio thing, and I can't remember why. Like I'm trying to make this sound like a good idea. Because at the time I thought it was great, but now, like, looking back, it's like, oh man, what a waste of time. But anyway, I was very excited about it, and like looking back now, the most important thing was the sequencer that I built. But the audio stuff was really interesting for me, and I went down that rabbit hole, and I built this whole user interface and everything. Can I share my screen? Yes.
Yeah, you can.
I'll share a picture of the software that Veros was talking about just before. This one, so Loop Drop. It's still on GitHub. I haven't deleted it. I just haven't done anything on it in about 5 years. Classic. So this is probably what you saw me doing, was a couple of launch pads like this, and here's my software. So this was fully self-contained. All you needed was the Electron app and one of these launch pads, and it was all written in JavaScript with web audio and running inside an Electron app. And I'm just leaping all over the place here because this is. I wish I'd written a few more notes, but I'm like, I'll just see. I'll go down the reminiscing lane with some other people in the room, and it might be more fun this way. I just like tell you about the old days of me and web audio. Anyway, so I actually got it to the point where I was confident that I could play a gig with it, and I did just that in 2016. So this was just shortly after. No, let's go back. Okay, so the big thing is that I gave a talk about this project at JSConf Asia 2015, which actually came out of meeting Feroz and Tim, what was his name?
Tim Oxley?
Tim Oxley, yes. And I got invited to Camp JS, where I did kind of like an earlier version of this talk. And a lot of people got really excited about like seeing JavaScript being used in this really creative way. And so I got invited to speak at JSConf Asia, and I gave this like 45-minute long thing where basically I start off trying to play an instrument with really badly with a keyboard, and then I use JavaScript to make it seem like I'm actually a really good musician, and everyone thought that was hilarious. And it's got like 7,000 views, which for a random talk on the internet is actually quite a few. So at this point, I kind of felt like I was a bit locked into this idea of JavaScript music, and I guess that's why like I got so obsessed with the web audio stuff. I'm like, I've got to make this work now. I'm gonna make my name as a JavaScript musician. And so I actually kind of pushed for that, and I did this. I played this gig in 2016 where it was all JavaScript. All these kids here, they don't know that I wrote my own software, and they're rocking out, and it was great, except for like the continual glitches throughout. And so that just kind of became the bane of my existence with the JavaScript version. Was garbage collection just means that you have no control over real time, like true real time, and for music software you need that. So I went through a bit of a dark phase where I kind of gave up on it and stopped working on it for a while, and just sort of didn't do any music. But this meetup that I was hanging out with here in Wellington, New Zealand, had this guy come along who was bringing along like synthesizers, like actual hardware synthesizers, and I kind of got the bug and I started like buying some hardware stuff. But the problem is that it didn't have my way of controlling it, where I could play all these instruments all at once. I don't really want to go too much into how that system works. I can just give a very sorry, this is totally all over the place. So the sequencer that I built back in JavaScript in the JavaScript days, and that I talk about in my Singapore talk, my JSConf Asia talk, was this idea where you have all of the instruments laid out in front of you. So you've got like your drums here, and you've got your bass, and you've got your synth, and you can just play them. But when you hear something that sounds kind of cool, you can put the loop button, push the loop button, and it will keep repeating that thing that you just did. So rather than having this thing where either you've got everything pre-planned out in advance, or you're having to manually record everything in, you can basically just be jamming with yourself, laying down loops as they come to you, and then when they sound good, you push the save button, and then they keep playing. So it's like basically being in a jam band with yourself, which was my goal, and that was the idea that I kind of built up slowly in the JavaScript version. But as the one piece that I've brought with me from the JavaScript version into my new hardware obsession. So all of these devices that you see here are all audio generators. They make sound. So this here is a drum machine. This here makes bass. This here makes string sounds. Very synthetic string sounds. This thing makes... It basically just makes techno. It just makes that kind of sound.
Oh, that sounds so good.
But then they're all controlled from this device here, which is connected to a Raspberry Pi hidden out the back here. And that Raspberry Pi is running Rust code that I basically translated a lot of the ideas from the JavaScript version and rewrote them all in Rust. And it was my first Rust project. Now I'm going to jump back a little bit to the Rust transition. So I was realizing that I wanted to ditch the laptop, and I wanted to move to all my sound being generated from hardware, so that there's no computer actually in between the audio signal and the speakers. I wanted to just eliminate the computer from that. Like even Ableton, the most sophisticated technology for live music production on a laptop is still kind of sketchy, so I just wanted to get rid of the computer from the actual audio part, but the computer for controlling everything, that's still fine. I'm fine with that. So anyway, so I realized that I wanted to run it on an embedded, somewhat kind of embedded style. And I tried running the JavaScript version. I just took out the code that did the sequencer, and I tried to run on the Raspberry Pi, and it just didn't run well at all. It just ran terribly. And it's amazing, because it ran great on my desktop, just that one part, with no glitches or anything. But I moved it to the Raspberry Pi, and the timing was just all over the place. It was just completely unreliable. So I realized I needed to eliminate JavaScript from the mix. And at that point, I tried a few things. I think I experimented with some, because I was trying to run it on my phone for a while. I don't know. I had all sorts of weird ideas, but Rust was the hotness in 2018. So I thought, hey, good opportunity to try something that actually this could do with some Rust, real-time-ish, direct, fast, all that kind of stuff. So I just, 1 month, it was January in 2018, I think. I just went deep into I'm going to learn a language and build this thing. And so by the end of the month, I actually had it kind of working. And so that was like super inspiring that I built this thing in a language I didn't know, and it was actually totally working. And since then, and I've definitely iterated on it and done a lot of stuff, but it's kind of been that same version that I built in 1 month. After 5 years of trying to make all this stuff work in JavaScript, I got it all working great on a Raspberry Pi. And since then, my main exploration has been choosing what pieces to have for my actual sound generation. So it's still been a little bit of a rabbit hole there. Anyway, that's a short introduction to what on earth's going on here. And I think I'm going to play some music with this. And then I'm going to maybe talk to the panel a little bit in case they have some ideas and questions, or if anyone wants to talk about this. This is not very planned out. I'm totally just launching into it, but that's kind of the vibe. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with this, is have a system where I can not have a plan and still make music that makes me happy, and hopefully other people as well. Right. So I'm gonna dive in, and we'll see what happens. And awesome. I'm going to mute my microphone here, and hopefully the music can speak for itself. And like I said before, I have no idea what I'm about to do at all. I don't even know if any of the knobs are in the right place. So either this is going to go wonderfully, and you're going to go, wow, Matt, how did you do that? Or it's going to go terribly, and you'll say, well, it's a cool idea. So hopefully it'd be nice to look at. All right, here goes.
The beauty of doing it live.
I should probably have tested all my synths before I started. Hang on, I've just gotta make this work. I got the wrong earpiece. Oh crap! There we go. That's better. What have I done? Oh. I don't know. Sorry, I might use that since it's not working. Maybe I'll come back to it later. This is I just plugged everything in like just before I started this and didn't test it out. maybe this will be fun. I'll live debug it. Yeah, that's always definitely the best way to do a show is to. Okay, so the light is not flashing when I play it, which means the MIDI isn't connected. Ah, there we go. Okay, all right. Just turn it off and on again.
Amazing.
Right. I debugged it, and I didn't even write a single line of code. All right, I'm going to try again. Here goes. Hello. All right. Oh,
Why did it have to stop?
Well, I thought I would have a little break because that way, next time I play, I can play something completely different. So the problem is if I keep playing, I'll just keep playing that over, and it'll like slowly evolve, and that's nice. But like, we'll keep things moving along here. So I'll probably play one more thing if we've got time. We started a little bit late, so if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, take as much time as you want. This
Sweet.
is amazing.
Okay, all right. So first of all, before we get to that though, any questions from the panel or from the audience about what on earth's going on here? Because I definitely just jumped straight in a bit there with some waffling.
Yeah, so there was one question here from the live chat from, I'll put the question up on the screen here from Tin, I don't know what that username is, but can you describe a little bit more about how you transition from working in JavaScript to creating something in Rust? I guess they're asking about the process, maybe, of just what it was like for you.
Well, okay, so I guess I had a more like a high-level idea of like moving from programming in JavaScript to Rust was challenging, but also super, super exciting and inspiring for me, because Rust actually, in my particular case, for this particular project, it was just so much more aimed in the right direction, had the right trade-offs, I felt. So when I was doing all this in JavaScript, I feel quite confident to be able to write anything in JavaScript and to know what I'm doing and to be able to get it done really quickly. But JavaScript just invites you to do all these little things which seem like a cool idea, but are just terrible for performance and memory. So immutable stuff, for example, it seems like a good idea for performance, but basically, at least when I was doing JavaScript on this project, like the virtual DOM type stuff, it really hammers the system. And on a desktop, on a powerful desktop, it's fine. But like when you go embedded, you realize that you actually starting to have to write JavaScript in a very different way. And kind of like Dominic Tarr talked about a couple of episodes earlier about like, when you start optimizing JavaScript, you might as well be writing C. And so I realized that there was another language that, by design, makes you write your code in a way that actually is friendly to the computer and invites you to do that. In fact, it makes it hard for you not to do that. And I thought, here's a good thing to try and see if that actually is true. And I had all the wonderful experiences of like, first time the code actually compiled, working perfectly. And like that's completely unheard of in the world of JavaScript, where it'll run and it'll crash like 5 seconds in with some weird undefined is not a function or something like that. And that cannot happen in Rust. And sure, like I've had some weird runtime errors, since then, but that was my initial experience. Was I'd spend like maybe a day and a half writing code and it not compiling, especially when you do a big refactor or something like that. But the first time it ran, it actually just worked. So that for me was the most inspiring, exciting part when I was first learning Rust. Is sure, it was a journey to get there, but the level of confidence that your code is just not going to fail randomly is so vital for what I'm doing with this music stuff. And it's been such a long time since that part of my system has failed. Since I moved to Rust, apart from this one bug I had where I was using system clock instead of CPU, and it was every time you plug in the Raspberry Pi to Wi-Fi, it resyncs to NTP. And so my code would then suddenly discover that it was like 7 hours in the future, and all of the code, all the music would have to play for the previous lost 7 hours in about the course of as fast as it possibly could stream it out. And it was like the weirdest bug I could not figure out for ages. So that's been my one weird bug that I had with Rust, and it was because I was using system time instead of CPU time. Anyway, in JavaScript, I don't even know if you can access CPU time. Honestly, I have no idea what would happen if you changed. It'd probably just break in the same way. I don't know.
Don't they have high resolution timers now in JS land? I think there's.
Oh yeah, they're probably CPU. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I definitely waffled on that one. Okay, any other questions?
No, it's all good. Rod, do you have anything on your mind?
Yeah, I was interested in the story of how you got started and you chose web audio. I was thinking, is that Was that because web audio offered you a full stack that you could just pick off and just start tinkering with, and with any other platform you'd either have to really buy into a very particular platform or build the stack yourself? Was that the initial benefit of web audio?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was mostly because I was a fairly confident JavaScript developer at the time, and all of the other platforms, you either had to kind of learn a whole new paradigm, like, for example, the more visual type programming languages. Also, apart from pure data, a lot of them are quite expensive. And I was confident in the web, and I saw there was this API that pretty much, it was at the right level. It was that, like, you're not actually having to write the DSP code itself, but you can plug devices together, kind of like what I've got here, but do it with JavaScript and control it all with JavaScript. And you get that thing where the actual DSP is running in a quite an optimized way, and it's written, I think it's in C++, but the sort of the control layer is all scripted. So it was kind of a bit like a game engine where you can make your own custom levels, but someone's already got this awesome thing that they've built that's solid. So it felt like that. I think people that are trying to do non-real-time stuff with web audio are having a really good time with it, because you can schedule all these events in the future and they'll play perfectly. But the problem is I had such a small window. I had like 15 milliseconds, and you might note that is less than the amount of time JavaScript garbage collection sometimes takes, and that was my problem. But I mean, it's the same kind of issue you have with like frame jank or whatever, when you're trying to make a perfectly smooth animation, except when you lose one frame of video, it's a lot less obvious than if you lose a frame of audio. It's so much more critical. So what would happen is, it would glitch the audio necessarily, you'd just have a missing sound, so there'd be no kick drum sometimes. So it was kind of like a little bit of randomness, and I was fine with that. The problem I had was there was actually some problems with the amount of stuff you could schedule, and it would build up like some kind of, like I didn't really know what it was. It probably was a bug, and it might even been fixed now. But I just never could get over this thing where you'd play a set for 30 minutes and then you just start getting random crackles. So that was actually the web audio part failing. But I was demanding so much of web audio, and it was quite young at the time. And I hope that some of because I did talk to a lot of people in the developer world, because I went to Web Audio Conference and I had good conversations with like Paul Adno, and I think I met the guy who does it at Google. What's his name? The Google Web Audio guy. Sorry, I can't remember his name. It's been a long time. But like, talking to them about it, and I gave these talks at Web Audio Conference about my issues. Like, I wasn't that optimistic for my second talk. I was very much like I think my talk was called "Is Web Audio Ready for the Dance Floor?" But what I was doing with it was probably one of the more hardcore things. And I think that if it could have achieved what I was doing with it, then that's like totally pushing it up on this level. So yeah, I used to be a real evangelist for web audio as a tool for experimenting as a musician. And I think it's still good. Like I recently, I think it was last year, we got invited Live.js, which I haven't talked about yet. So with my experiments with web audio and everything, I kind of got involved just by accident, but because we kept meeting each other at conferences, with a group called Live.js, which are a collective of sort of musicians and visual artists that kind of focus primarily on using the web or web-related platforms for their art. And so I kind of became the main musician for a while in that. But now there's a few more people that are doing music stuff with JavaScript, and I'm not anymore. I'm still part of it, and I'm using Rust, and it's a little bit complicated. But anyway, for old time's sake, I decided to do an entirely JavaScript-based performance at JazzConf Asia last year. And it was a lot of fun, like, because I had to basically just build all my synths. Like, I didn't worry about doing a user interface. It was just like a white web page with a bunch of JavaScript running in the background, and it was quite neat. Like, there's some really cool new changes in the Web Audio API, but the glitches were still there. In fact, they were worse than ever, and that was really sad. And it's because there's a problem with they've done this thing where now you can run your user code inside of the audio thread. But that deprioritizes the audio thread to like standard user. But you can use Renice to then bump it back up again. So when I discovered that, Paul Irish was at the conference, and he was literally in the room where I was trying to solve this problem of like audio glitches, because we had like 1 week before. This is actually JSConf. I'm jumping all over the place again. Gosh, like thinking back in the old days again. JSConf Europe. What's it called? JSConf. It's jsconf.eu, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. We were Live.js was asked to do the introduction, so we were going to make the entire intro entirely with web audio and like Canvas and SVG, and he was going to be like debugging it like when it didn't work proper performance. Like that was part of the introduction. It was all going to be really fun. But anyway, he happened to be in the room when I was literally trying to fix the performance of the audio, and he's like, "Oh, you can just re-nice the audio thread up," and like I don't know, it was kind of neat. Anyway. It's just a shame that though, like it's like you had to use hacks still to make web audio actually run in this real-time way, but it can do it, and it is a super fun platform to build on top of. Anyway, sorry, I mean here I am like with all my hardware synths, complaining about like computers. Basically, I'm that guy.
What about your advice to people watching this that are comfortable with JavaScript and are thinking about getting into audio and using web audio as a way to get in? What sort of advice do you have? Is it just be realistic about real time, or like what do you give to new people who are keen to do this stuff that you're doing but don't have all the hardware and want to play around with web audio?
Yeah, get a MIDI controller of some kind, so something with hardware knobs, and connect that into it as the control system. And then experiment with the data coming in there and connect it up to stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And you can build like super. If you're familiar with JavaScript, I wouldn't recommend if you're not familiar with JavaScript. But if you're familiar with JavaScript and you like building stuff on the web and you want to make music stuff, it's great. It's awesome. It's super powerful, and it's I highly recommend it.
Yeah, cool. And what about like stuff like launch pads or any of those other things? Are those considered MIDI controllers? Or
yes.
Do they,
so
okay. Anything
keyboard, the launch pad, like this device here, which is hang on, which camera am I looking at? It's just a bunch of knobs that send values.
Right.
Oh, gosh, it's the mirrored thing is funny. Yeah, and so all of these come in as arrays of values which you can use for changing data. Yeah. But having a goal of like some problem you're trying to solve it's so quick to iterate with JavaScript. You have like this thing and you just want to make it exist, and like you spend one afternoon and the thing exists now. It might not work great, but it does exist.
Yeah, that's the true hacker spirit.
Just the power of JavaScript.
Yeah, get something working quickly. And it doesn't matter how hideous the code is, no one will see it, least probably. But if
view source, so minify it.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm looking in the comments here, and it's pretty funny. I thought it was just maybe my stream, but Sue's Hinton in the chat put it up on the screen. She noticed that your audio glitched right as you were saying. Audio glitches are noticeable. It was so funny. It was like,
perfect timing.
It was doing the thing where it slows it down. So it was like audio glitches are noticeable.
Well, this is all web audio right now, most likely. I don't know if how Restream is routing its audio, but it could well be. Yeah. I
actually heard recently that part of the secret to Zoom's success, the video chat company, is that they do their own I guess they tweak or tune their own WebRTC like video stack. And one of the things that they prioritize higher than a lot of the other ones is they send way more redundant audio packets. So it's kind of wasteful, but like when the video stream freezes the audio, like even when a bunch of packets are being dropped, it's likely to not glitch the audio part. And it turns out that's the most important thing when you're on a call with somebody. It's so noticeable, even a little minor audio glitch. Whereas video could freeze for like 10 seconds and you don't even notice sometimes.
Yeah. If you're in a really big club with lots of echo, like little reverb in the room, people don't notice it so much, I discovered, which was kind of cool. But
right.
The bad acoustics cancels it out. But yeah, if you're listening with headphones, you're getting that millisecond accuracy and straight into your eardrums, and it's very jarring. It's like because I was using my AirPods the other day, and they're actually, it's amazing how well they work, no dropouts. And then there was this weird stereo kind of ping, and it was so quick and sharp, and it totally put me on edge. I felt like I've been shot or something. It was like that, because it's so connected to your brain, directly interfacing. You don't have sounds that are that sharp that aren't danger, absolute danger.
Are you talking about the thing where like the left and the right will desync occasionally, and like
it was like that, but with a really loud transient. So it was like kind of like this feeling shooting through your brain. And I'm sure it would be fixed in the next iOS update. But have you noticed that the AirPods, they change every time there's an update to iOS? Like the EQ changes. It's so weird. Like there was no bass for one update, and then the bass came back.
I don't know if most AirPods users are paying as close attention as somebody working with audio is like you. But
I think your attention to these details is probably a bit closer than most people.
Anyway, so this is a good waffle about audio there. So any more questions, or should I play a little?
Let's do one last quick one. Okay. So Dinosaur's asking, how portable is your setup?
Yeah, So that's something that I've definitely prioritized. Since I realized that I was moving away from the laptop world. So with the laptop, it's one device and then maybe a couple of something like this. Fits in your backpack. It's easy. It's a little bit of a pain to set up, but super portable. When you start moving to this, there's so many little pieces you have to plug in, and it's quite a mental overhead, especially when you're about to perform. You don't really have your mind on it. It takes you about 3 times longer to plug it all in. So I quickly realized that I needed to have a system where it was a lot easier to move around. So that's become my entire focus on this, has been something that I can set up in less than 10 minutes, and that I can maybe not fit in a backpack, but I can move just by myself. So this whole, I've showed the same camera twice now. This whole thing fits in the box that I've got over here. It fits in this case, and it handles on it. And it can't be taken on the carry-on, but it can be checked in on a plane. I've never had to do that yet. I've only done things local. Was going to fly this year, and then of course, everyone knows what happened there. But this box has been dragged across paddocks and into forests. It's been all over the place, and it all runs on battery because most of these devices are 5-volt USB. And the ones that aren't, I've got these little devices that step up from USB power to 9-volt, and it means you can run the whole thing off a USB power bank. So it's kind of ridiculous. You have this huge lit up display of stuff in the middle of somewhere where there's just no electricity or anything.
What do the speakers use? I mean, those bigger speakers must need to be powered, though, right?
These speakers, I don't use these ones, but I have a battery powered speaker set up, which if anyone's interested, it's called the Maui 5 Go. It's pretty powerful. They're quite popular for weddings because people have weddings in all sorts of weird locations. And so it's like you have a sub unit and then a column that sits in the top. Yeah. Anyway.
Super cool.
Right. So, shall I play another little tune? Oh gosh, we've been talking for ages. Sorry.
No, go for it. Why don't you finish off with? I don't know if you also have something to present after this next performance, or?
All I had was, I saw stuff we've talked about. I had just some random YouTube videos of stuff that I might have looked at. Here, for example, is me making the sequencer, and so in this talk at JSConf Asia, I actually copied and pasted code and built up my entire sequencer that you see here. So it's still an interesting talk 5 years later. It really goes into the idea behind what I'm doing here and my whole sort of philosophy to music. So
what can people search to find that?
It's I play the JavaScript. We should find it.
Nice, cool. I'm gonna
I think you should highlight Dominic Carr's comment that just came through.
Sure. Yeah, he's saying, have you considered non-electronic instruments, maybe made of corrugated iron?
Yeah. Sticks? Well, if I could control them with Rust, then yes. The thing is that this sequencing system now, so one, that replaces friends, because you don't need other people to jam with you. You can just jam with yourself. So if you have sticks and you have bits of metal, you've got to have friends to be able to hit them with you. Otherwise, it's no fun at all. So I can do this on a live stream by myself during COVID, whereas the Piss Wizard, sorry, that's what someone just referenced there. It was this thing that me, Dominic Tarr, and Mikey, who's Dinosaur in here, I've got my fans in here now, gosh. We we found some old metal and some sticks and some trees and had this like very wonderful drum circle at the same festival that I played here. This one up on the hill.
You got to reshare your screen if you want.
Oh, sorry, I'm showing. Oh gosh, that's so terrible. I'm so used to being on a video call. Anyway, okay. Yeah, you're right. I got to share my screen. Anyway, yeah. So that one I showed before, that clip. Yeah. Does that make sense? Why everyone was confused before when I showed the other thing? Anyway, cool.
All good.
Okay. So, any other questions? I mean, we could just do it. We'll just play some music now, and if there's anything at the end, I'm happy to answer.
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's maybe have room for maybe one more question at the end if anyone has.
So it's a lot of talking for a performance, isn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't been talking about any of this stuff since I basically started on the Rust thing. So this is actually the first time I've talked technical about any of this at all.
Wow.
So yeah, hopefully it's interesting. All right.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Yeah. Alrighty, let's do it.
Make it stop. Okay, there. Oops, I can't hear.
Oh, sorry, I was
Here we go.
my
Okay.
bad. Yeah, that was amazing. Great work. That was so good.
Oh,
I wish
thanks.
there was an audience to do applause for you, but it's just me, and I think Rod had to bounce
Yeah.
partway through. But yeah, there's a lot of people in the audience who are saying those last 30 seconds were lit, and that it was fire, and oh man, there's a lot of good thoughts there. So good.
I normally play a lot more hardcore, but I'm like, I don't know, just this like trying to talk technical things and like kind of just sort of jumping straight into it. I don't know, like, yeah. What I was doing today was pretty chill compared to what I normally do. Normally I'm like, I kind of bounce between like more ambient stuff, but then like really hard techno.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, your style is super distinctive. I don't know. It just sounds like you whenever I hear. Mm-hmm. It sort of, especially I think it's because the way like the tools obviously must shape the sound, but it's like it's always this like I know isn't there a whole genre called like minimalist or minimal or something where you sort of build and it takes forever to kind of get going. It reminds me a little bit of that, but it's because you're sort of like layering on as you're happy with each thing, you kind of add a little more, and it's super cool. Yeah, it's like viewing the source code of the song. It's like you don't add the next layer until like this one is like sort of played for long enough that you understand all as a listener you understand all the nuances and details of it, and then you're like, all right, now I'm going to introduce something new.
Exactly, like that pretty much is it. Because that's the thing is like if I leave something kind of half baked, I'm stuck with it for the rest of the song. Sometimes I do that, and then afterwards I'm like, why did I do that? I listen back, I should have just got it right. And so yeah, I try and make sure that I'm happy with each of the layers before I continue. So that's kind of my improvisational style, and I usually play for like maybe an hour or something like that, and it's just kind of there in the background, and people just enjoy it. When I actually play like a set, I have a lot more planned out. I have samples planned out, and I have like my track list planned out. And I have even like I sometimes even know what notes I'm going to play. Like it's, but it never ends up like how I imagine it, of course. But like, it's definitely a lot more focused, and I don't spend so much time with each layer. And yeah, but those are the two different ways. But I don't really do the performance stuff that often, like a few times a year. Whereas we do weekly, or even more than weekly, like hour-long sessions of just doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally. I've changed location here. I'm in my car. I have to drive. I have some family responsibilities, but I was listening to it in the car. Really getting into it. This kind of this free flowing kind of music is I find really good to play while I'm working. Do you share like long tracks and stuff that people could look at? I know someone shared a link to your Bandcamp before. Is that something where you release stuff?
Yes. In fact, what I should probably do is I actually posted up a bunch of I made a gist that I was going to share, which has links to all the stuff I talked about, plus my current stuff. So can I post that somewhere?
Yeah, why don't you post that in the private chat, and then I'll put it on screen.
In the Discord? Yeah.
Sure, yeah, that would work. Yeah. I also put up your Bandcamp on the screen right now for anyone who wants to check it out.
Yeah, so the stuff on Bandcamp is kind of like, I'm taking music from those sort of jams like what I just did today. Like today I recorded everything. I've recorded all the different layers, all those individual tracks onto this recorder here. And then I can take that and put it into like proper audio software and kind of make it sound like it was actually planned. So that's what all the albums on Bandcamp are. But they're all just from these sort of sessions. But the main thing I do is I upload to SoundCloud. Like I'll upload like entire... there's the link to the gist. Sorry, I'm trying to copy paste.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how people are gonna hear. I'll paste it in the chat for everyone who's on the live stream to see it as well, and then I will put it on screen. Which I really don't think people are going to be able to type this in. It's it.
flash it on screen really quickly.
Type really fast. Last chance.
Let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. Type that in.
Well, this is recorded, right? So
yeah, it's recorded. They can pause it and type it in.
So Matt, I did have a question about the Rust stack and how mature was the set of libraries that you're able to pull from, or were you finding yourself rewriting a lot of lower level stuff from scratch?
Luckily, the part that I wanted, which was MIDI, because I didn't need to do any actual audio stuff with Rust, that was really good. No problems there at all. It was super easy. It was basically like the npm experience. Just installed this cargo package called MIDIR, MDIR, I think. Wait, no, it's MIDI-R, I think is what it is. Yeah, like MIDI Rust. The packages in Rust are all named in these really cryptic ways. But anyway, yeah. So that was really easy, and I've got a few other like random libraries, but I'm pretty much just using stock Rust plus the MIDI library. But I have experimented writing audio code with Rust because at one point I was going to try doing some DSP, like the old call of the making your own stuff came back to me for a few months, and I tried making my own audio looper using Rust, and it was really difficult. But this was back in 2018. It was just things like the audio library didn't have control over the latency, so it was like buffering 512 rather than 128, which was what I needed. And I started a PR for doing that, and it actually like almost got merged, but I drifted away and gave up on it. And I think I actually got pretty burnt out on open source there for a while. I went through a phase of basically just being like, it's so hard. Anyway, I won't try and get us down about open source. I'm feeling much more positive about it these days after I've taken a break, and now I'm working on these super corporate projects that aren't open source at all, but in JavaScript, and like absolute mad science JavaScript. Just a quick plug for this other project I'm working on. I've done all the audio design, and I'm also like doing a lot of development on it now. Is Crypto Voxels, which was made by a friend of mine, Ben Nolan, who's quite a notorious JavaScript fellow himself. And that's where I'm doing my live streams now. So I live stream into this like virtual world. Unfortunately, that link doesn't work. You need to add the dub when it's HTTPS. It's dumb. If you don't put the HTTPS, it works. But if you, someone needs to fix that so bad. Anyway, in that gist, I linked to my my little my club that I made in virtual reality, where I have a big projection screen, and every Wednesday or Tuesday, depending on what time zone you're in, I play a live stream for an hour there.
Voxels is super impressive. That's cool. I still have to make some time to actually go and check it out. I've seen all the like little screen caps on Twitter of people doing stuff in it. It looks super neat.
Yeah. It's basically Minecraft in Minecraft in your web browser and on the blockchain. So like it's kind of fun for events. If you actually want to build in there, you got to spend some mad cash, some mad coin.
We actually have in a couple weeks somebody named Elena from the Ironfish Network, which is like a crypto project, and she's going to be talking about how they got their full node to run in the browser, which is like a wild, going to be a wild story, I think. So they're building their whole network with WebRTC as the sort of lowest layer, so that all the nodes, browser and non-browser, are all speaking WebRTC, so they can they're all kind of equal. So browser can be a full node in theory. So
mad science.
Yeah, definitely mad science. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Does Crypto Voxels do something similar then to make is it browser?
No, it's MetaMask.
Oh, okay, got it. So
it runs on Ethereum. So
okay, so they're not.
But the thing is, the crypto part of it's actually quite small. It's just the ownership. And it's also the funding for the entire project. So the entire project has been funded by people purchasing land in this world, which is pretty cool. Like, no investment at all. It's just user investment. So because I wasn't actually a fan of it. I'll be honest, I'm super against blockchain stuff. Mm-hmm. But like, it's really interesting seeing it kind of working, in a place that it's everything's fake and virtual. So why not have virtual money as well? It's like this game where it's just like any old monetized game, but except that the system that you're using for doing all the transactions is based on blockchain instead of Stripe, basically. Mm-hmm. So
totally,
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it also not to go super deep into the rabbit hole on Crypto Voxels, but there's some things about property ownership, I guess, in this world that I think probably has good effects. Where if you bought some land to build something on it, you're actually going to do something with it, versus if it was all unlimited and free, then you'd have this ghost town effect where you walk around and half the things are empty. I don't know if that's actually how it plays out, but I bet there's a lot of interesting economic like things going on that like some more academic person could come in and observe and like write a interesting paper about. But
I absolutely think that's true. It's a great social experiment because like it's totally all the same terrible systems we have in the real world kind of translated into the virtual space. It's basically capitalism simulated.
That's really funny.
And the money's real, so
right.
But it's all kind of super interesting because it is actually funding developers to work on this thing. Then they're just working on. They're not just running off your money and buying yachts. It's not big CEOs. So it's super. I feel super conflicted about the whole thing, but there's something about that super pure as well because that direct it's almost like buying direct from the farm, like buying your virtual world and your crypto art straight from the gate.
Organic bits.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. Well, I think we got
that.
I think we should probably wrap up. We're definitely over time, but I think it was totally worth it to see that second performance and to get in some more questions and discussion. So yeah. I don't know. Do either of you have any final thoughts before we wrap up and send everybody over to the social happy hour? No.
No. Dominic has a question. Why aren't they buying yachts? Yeah. Maybe you'll have a fleet. And we'll just
only
make...
Dominic buying yachts.
we could all just join Dominic out in the harbour in Auckland, and go from there. Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, that's all I've got to say.
Cool.
Thanks for indulging me. This has been lots of fun.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for doing that for us. That was definitely the most interesting format for Speakeasy JS so far. So thanks for being brave enough to give that a shot. The audio actually sounded pretty good from my end, so I hope everyone else got that same experience. That was really good. Thanks for coming. You're welcome back on any of the future panels. That's kind of what I think we're evolving this into. Is if once you've given a talk, you can sort of pop in any week you want and be on the panel for that week. So that's an open invitation anytime you want to hang out. Thanks for joining us too, Rod. And what I'm going to mention now is, if I can get this to show up here, boom. So we're going to go over to speakeasy.co/js, which is a site that's going to let us hang out with each other now. So you'll get matched with a random attendee for a 5-minute chat, and you can talk about whatever you want. There's some fun conversation starter questions that will pop up that'll give you something to talk about, but no pressure to talk about it if you don't want to. And I think, Matt, if you're able to join us too, that'd be pretty cool. So then if people can get matched to you, they can just ask you their questions directly, which would be pretty sweet. So it should be pretty fun. We do this every week after the talks. And so I'll just put the URL up there again. And with that, I'll just say goodbye, everybody. We'll see you over at the Speakeasy link there. And thanks for joining us. Thanks again, Matt. Amazing performance and talk. Loved it.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.